And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast.
Quite something. This is remarkable. Let's just watch and listen.
The emerging world leader. There are 33 different titles for him in the Old Testament. Among the more well-known ones, the seed of the serpent in Genesis 3. He's the idol shepherd of Zechariah 11. That's the only physical description of the AntiChrist in the Bible, and it is there. He's the little horn of Daniel 7 and Daniel 8. He's a horn is a ancient symbol of authority. He's the prince that shall come, as I've mentioned before. He's called the willful king in Daniel 11. And these are all in your notes, of course. And in the New Testament, there's 13 titles there. He's the beast of Revelation 11 and 13. He's called the false prophet in Revelation 13, the second of the two guys. The word Antichrist is a strange label, by the way. That's the one that sticks. That's the one we say Antichrist. We all think we know what we're talking about. It's a little weird because that word is only used by John, and it's not used of him. John uses the term in his letters to represent a spirit of Antichrist. He's not really talking about an individual per se. The word Antichrist doesn't mean against Christ, technically. It means in the place of Christ. A pseudo-Christ is more precise. Antichristos in the Greek isn't what it sounds like to us. Obviously he's against Christ, but the word really means he's in the place of Christ. That's why there's all this talk about the Pope and all that sort of stuff. But in any case, what's interesting is John, who's the only guy that uses that term in a different context, in the entire book of Revelation doesn't use the term Antichrist. He uses several other terms, by the way. But nevertheless, that's the label that has stuck, if you will, in modern usage. So I won't fight that. Just be aware of the fact that it's a strange inversion here. He's called the lawless one in 2 Thessalonians 2. He's called the man of sin in 2 Thessalonians 2. Jesus calls him the one who comes in his own name. I come in my Father's name, you receive me not. Another comes in his own name, and him you will receive. That's why many of the experts believe he'll be Jewish. We don't know that. We know he's accepted by Israel for some weird reason, but whatever.
Okay. Give thanks to Hashem, for his work is good, his kindness endures forever. Presented to President Donald J. Trump for his extraordinary and heroic efforts, I like that very much, to help the state of Israel and the Jewish people. He and his family should be blessed eternally. From the Israel Heritage Foundation, July 10th, 2023. I want to thank you. Let me put it this way. If we don't win, Israel's in big trouble. I really do. I mean it. Israel's in big trouble. 100 more years. 100 more years. What is this, a test? The rabbis give me a test. And no men in women's sports.
Okay, so that's, and he's called the son of perdition in 2 Thessalonians 2. And is he a Jew or Gentile? There are good scholars that take both sides. Some say the leader will be the son of Satan. That's clearly from the scripture. Some believe the leader will be a Jew, and there's a whole bunch of arguments for that. And also there's some believe he'll be a Gentile, and there's a whole bunch of arguments for that. So you can take your pick. But when we get into those arguments, remember there's two guys. We're not talking about a single guy. There's a single political leader, but he has a religious priest promoting his worship called the false prophet.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
I'm not just MAGA. I'm dark, gothic MAGA. Well, the energy in this room is incredible.
And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast.
And then I'm going to be working with Elon Musk, who endorsed us very powerfully.
Well, I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible. And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
He's great. All I know is I watched that rocket come down. I never saw that. I thought I was watching a movie or something, a space age movie. I watched that rocket. I was on the...
There's a second title of him, if you will. And so, coming world leader. The term that I would use if I was writing in this area is I'd call him Mr. Big Mouth. Because it's interesting in Daniel 7 and in Daniel 11, in Psalm 52, in 2 Thessalonians 2, he is always shooting off his mouth. He's making arrogant claims. That's one of his characteristics. So if you want a title for him, I'd call him Mr. Big Mouth. 6 times in the scripture he's called that.
Nobody can do it like me. Nobody. Nobody can do it like me. Honestly.
Nobody's stronger than me.
Nobody has better toys than I do.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
Nobody loves the Bible more than I do.
Nobody builds walls better than me.
Nobody's better to people with disabilities than me. Nobody's fighting for the veterans like I'm fighting for the veterans.
There's nobody that's done so much for equality as I have.
There's nobody more pro-Israel than I am. There's nobody more conservative than me.
There is nobody that respects women more than I do. Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump.
There's nobody's ever had crowds like Trump has had.
There's nobody that understands the horror of nuclear better than me. And nobody even understands it but me. It's called devaluation. The sale of the uranium that nobody knows what it means. I know what it means.
Nobody knows more about trade than me.
Nobody knows the game better than I do.
Nobody's in the history of this country has ever known so much about infrastructure as Donald Trump. I know the H-1B. I know the H-2B. Nobody knows it better than me.
Nobody knows politicians better than I do.
Nobody knows more about taxes than I do. Nobody knows more about debt than I do.
Nobody knows the system better than me.
He will be a son of Satan in some sense.
Lapland, there is a group of the shamans there who do something called collective dreaming. They will go together in seclusion and do the rituals with, eating very little food and being in a solitude for a long time. And they will go and dream the dreams. And the dream have to be collective, same dream. So coming out of this dream, once of the shaman told me that actually the best thing happened in this planet right now is the Trump to be the president. I said, how is this possible? It's the best thing to happen. He said, yes, because he's so irrational, he's so crazy. That's actually create that awakening, that we finally wake up. Because before it will be another guy and everything looks similar. But he's so different than anything else. So he's the magician who waking us up. What do you think about that? That kind of theory. Yeah, I know, it's speechless, I understand.
And he'll be an intellectual genius, obviously a brilliant guy. The guy that's coming is going to be fantastic. He is going to be the most attractive guy the world has ever seen. We'll know better by the Holy Spirit, but the world won't see that.
He believes that Trump is in fact a master wizard.
The idea of the master wizard hypothesis says that there are some people in the world, living people, who are masters of persuasion. They've got a linguistic gift for influencing people, and they're using actual technique. What I saw in Trump was someone who was highly trained, and that a lot of the things that the media were reporting as sort of random insults and bluster and just Trump being Trump looked to me like a lot of deep technique that I recognize from the fields of hypnosis and persuasion. So let me give you a few examples of the technique that Trump uses. There's something that I call the linguistic kill shot. And what that is a engineered set of words that essentially changes an argument or ends it so decisively, I call it a kill shot. So one of the ones that Donald Trump used was when he referred to Jeb Bush being a low energy guy.
Very, very low energy. so low energy that every time you watch him, you fall asleep.
Yeah,
you cannot take
more energy tonight. I like that.
Or when he referred to Carly Fiorina as a robot.
Like a robot. Ba, 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 like a robot.
Or Carson as nice.
Ben is a nice man.
He's actually a really nice guy.
All of these have the same quality. They're words you haven't heard in the political realm before, so they're sort of virginal words that he can use the way he wants. They don't have a lot of baggage with them. But they also perfectly fit what you are already thinking about these people. They weren't random insults. And once you hear it, you can never get it out of your mind. That's how powerful it is. You notice that he insults people that come at him.
I'm telling you, anybody that would view it that way has to be a little bit of a deviant.
And he also compliments people quite effusively when they're nice, or at least they're not bothering him.
I think they like me in a certain way, which is nice. It's always nice to be liked.
So what he's done is he's created a fairly large gap between insulting Trump, where he'll take you down, or being nice to him, where he'll take you up.
It sounds like you're saying I have leverage over the Republican Party, so they better be nice to me.
Well, essentially, I want to be treated fairly. That's true. I do want to, not nice.
You go against him, you know there's a little bit more to lose. And an anchor is something big and visual and emotional that takes you off of whatever you were thinking before, just because it's a bigger thought. So, for example, when Trump was in his first debate...
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals.
That was a terrible thing for him to answer with a direct answer. But he didn't do that.
Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
Immediately you go to this big visual, everybody knows her. His base probably has a negative feeling about her. And all the headlines became about Rosie O'Donnell instead of, is Trump a sexist?
I blurted out the name Rosie O'Donnell, and the place went crazy. And it really had a big impact on her questioning.
Kind of brilliant. He does the same thing with his idea for immigration and for the wall. The wall is this big, visual, magnificent thing in your head.
It will be a real wall. It'll be a wall that works. It'll actually be a wall that will look good. A big, beautiful, powerful wall. It can have a gate. It can have a door. It can have a tremendous, beautiful, wide open door. Nice, big door.
Even if you hate it, it's still big and visual, and it takes all the attention in that direction, and that's what he wants. One of the things that Trump does really well is he uses a type of linguistic judo. For example, there was one interviewer who said, you're kind of a whiner.
Rich Lowry says that you are the most fabulous whiner in the world. And
instead of saying, no, I'm not a whiner, Trump embraced it like judo. He took the force of the label and said,
I am a whiner, and I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining until I win. And I'm going to win for the country, and I'm going to make our country great again.
So he changed whiner into the biggest voice for change. And he did it with just a few words. It's amazing. Likewise, if Trump says anything about capitalism in the context of the Pope, it's just not going to come out right. So instead, Trump doesn't take the bait.
what do you say in response to the Pope?
I'd say ISIS wants to get you.
It's such a big, bold thought.
He talks to you about capitalism, you scare the Pope?
No, I'm going to have to scare the Pope.
All your attention just goes to that. He uses vagueness as a tool. This is a trick I learned in hypnosis class. Sometimes you want to tell a story in a way that lets people fill in the blanks with whatever would make them the happiest. So if Trump has a vague idea about foreign policy...
Just like I have the Chinese banks in my buildings, they listen to me, they respect me.
Or a vague idea about the economy.
My economy will expand so rapidly. We're going to take jobs back from other countries.
Or a vague idea about how to handle ISIS.
I would end ISIS forcefully.
People fill in the blanks with brilliant plans that are their own plans. It's more of a strategy than you imagine it is. But he has another thing going for him. He's developed the Trump persona over many years. He can do what nobody can do as a politician. He can change his mind.
Raising the Social Security retirement age to 70. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, not anymore.
He can say, I'm not going to tell you what I'll do. I'll just hire good people to do it.
I have the smartest people on Wall Street lined up already.
And he also can tell a joke. He can be outrageous.
I'm worried if you're president, I'll get deported. All right? That's what I'm worried about.
You'll never be. We're going to try like hell to keep you here, Bill.
You see apple pie and flags and eagles coming out of his ass when he talks. A lot of people ask me what could bring down Donald Trump. Probably there's no defense, and that's why I've predicted he probably will win the presidency.
They're going to see a guy with the answers, with a plan to help the world out of its mess.
I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight.
In the Middle East, presenting him with a letter of nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize.
The president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor.
He'll be an oratorical genius. I don't think he needs teleprompters.
But isn't it nice to have a president who doesn't need a teleprompter? Not that he can read it anyway. He can't read it. Now think if I read my teleprompter and I'm going, well, let's see, because of the weakness in the economy, I'd like to apologize. Pause. 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 What was that? That's unbelievable. Pause. You know, I was watching it. I said, that was weird. They actually don't have pause in my teleprompter, you know? They have a blank space that's like you see. If there's a response. If there's no response, you just keep going. You don't have pause. Some speechwriters saying pause, they're not going to know. You know, some of the things.
Okay. He will be a political genius.
He has a certain kind of, I think, reptilian political genius.
He'll be a commercial genius.
Switching gears for a moment, you knew Donald Trump way back in his New York real estate days.
What a charmer.
And, you know, despite, you know, whatever you say about him, even you say he's a great salesman. What is his sales technique? Why is he so great?
He is a phenomenal salesman. He's not a great salesman. He's probably the best salesman I've ever been in the company of. And I spent a lot of time with Donald because he's 5 years older than me, I think 4 years, and he was raising his company right parallel with me raising mine. And so I did a lot of work with Donald, and I can tell you he is the best salesman I've ever met in my life.
Well, you have to understand something that, if nothing else, Donald Trump is a marketing genius. And there's no one out there who knows how to manipulate the media better than Donald Trump. And so he has this predisposition to sort of throw red meat out to the audience of journalists and say things that are guaranteed to upset them and completely derail their line of questioning. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to take that into consideration.
He will be a military genius. He comes to power by peacemaking, not by military, but he becomes so powerful that he will be militarily very, very able.
He's going to be someone, though, who's going to come on the scene as a great peacemaker.
Donald is coming to set you free, bringing the light for all to see. No more tunnels, no more fear. Trump Gaza is finally here. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new life. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new life. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1.
And you think about, what does the world want today more than anything else? Someone who can bring peace to the world, peace and prosperity. And that's going to be his platform and his promise. And he's going to do that for some period of time, but at some point in time, the iron fist inside the velvet glove is going to be unveiled. And he will be the most iron-fisted, egomaniacal leader the world has ever seen.
I'll tell you, I had 4 years. I don't know if you had this. I couldn't stand it. Don't get angry. Donald, don't get angry, please. I couldn't stand it. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them.
I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
And Mark, you can see the way the world is today with instantaneous communication, how very quickly news can spread and power can be established and influence can be made just because of media platforms.
That's right.
This is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe. But is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out.
You said you were up till 4 a.m?
Yeah, so, actually a little more like 5 in, but okay. We got the XAI data center or supercomputer center training from beginning installation to start of training in 19 days, which is the fastest that anyone has ever gotten a supercomputer to train.
And is that in that new building off to the side?
That's in Memphis, actually.
It's in Memphis?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's where you were?
Yeah.
I see.
Memphis, the capital of ancient Egypt.
Right. Yeah, you're bringing what?
Perhaps that's where our new God will come from.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, I wish that was funny. Yeah, okay, so I want to talk to you about alignment.
I wish that was funny.
Yeah.
Somebody that has fooled everybody, but he simply cannot fool me, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Absolutely. I think that he could possibly be, now I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but based off of what I think, he could possibly be the false prophet who presents the mark of the beast to the world and presents the Antichrist on the world stage. I mean, that's how evil I think he is. Now, let's back this up with a little bit of scripture. We can rest assured that Revelation has started. Okay, and I want to cite the part in Revelation where it says the Euphrates River will run dry. Now, the Euphrates River is going to run dry so that the army of 200 million comes from the east. Okay, they're going to march across that dry river and go to destroy Israel. Okay, this is all unfolded in the book of Revelation. Now, that was wrote some 2,000 years ago. John, who wrote that, could not have possibly known that river was going to dry up without supernatural means. It's impossible to predict a river drying up 1,000 years later. So what I'm telling you is that book was definitely supernaturally inspired, and that based off Revelation, based off of what's described, we are coming close to the second coming of Jesus. We are getting very close. That Euphrates River is getting really, really dry right now. So if you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe it's prophetic, well, look up what I just said. I believe it's Revelation 16. I can't really quite remember everything, but I know it's in there. And it talks about the Euphrates River running dry. So why'd I bring that up? I brought that up to tell you that there's a good chance that the Antichrist is walking and breathing on this planet as we speak, which that means that the false prophet that comes along with the Antichrist is alive. So why do I think it's Elon Musk? Well, there's two pieces of evidence that are more significant. They're more significant than any other piece of evidence. One, it says in Revelation, the false prophet will deceive with fire from the sky. And so Elon Musk has this fake space program called SpaceX. And let me tell you, he ain't been past the firmament. No man has ever been past the firmament. He has not been in space. He has not put a rocket on Mars. He's not done anything he said he did. He's not a scientist. He's not a propulsion engineer. He don't make electric cars. He pays people to do it for him. He's one of the greatest scammers that humanity's ever seen. But I think he's actually a step further than just a con artist. I think he's evil embodied. And I can say that with confidence because, like I said, one piece of scripture, the false prophet will deceive with fire from the sky. But here's another piece of evidence is Elon Musk is inventing chips that go in people's brains. And I'm telling you, that is the behavior to look for when you're talking about the Antichrist. There's going to be a mark in everybody's head, and there's going to be a mark in it or on their hand, okay? And that's what they call the mark of the beast. And I'm telling you, Elon Musk, if he hasn't invented the mark of the beast yet, he is laying the groundwork for the Antichrist to take that mark of the beast and implement it on all humans. Because right now, Elon Musk has actually put a chip in somebody's brain and convinced them that they're healthier now. And I'm telling you, that's beyond a con artist. That is evil embodied. To lie to somebody to the degree that you can tell them, hey, put this chip in your brain and I'll help you. And he's going to convince millions of people to put that chip in their brain. And I'm telling you right now, he sounds like the false prophet, and the false prophet is going to present the Antichrist.
So let me ask you a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, if Musk doesn't buy Twitter, October of 2022, I don't know the exact time when he bought it. Anyways, if Elon Musk doesn't buy Twitter, right? And he decides to just focus on SpaceX, which is now October of 2022. Yeah. So which is now a $210 billion company. You can pull up SpaceX market cap. I think it's a $210 billion company. He continues with Tesla, which he took from, a $59 billion company to $650 billion plus trillion valuation, gets his $55 billion payout, give or take, whatever the number is. He could have continued doing that. He could have continued doing those things. But if he doesn't buy Twitter and you say something like this that you just said right now, this wouldn't stay. Any of the stuff that you said, these interviews wouldn't stay on Twitter. They would ban you. They would silence you. You would be suspended from Twitter, right? But you're out there being able to say this stuff about him, right? So if he's the Antichrist, why would he be okay with
the false prophet?
The false, because Antichrist is walking. Yeah, he's on earth, but the false prophet. If he's a false prophet, why would he allow so many people to say what they say about him? Why would he give him that permission?
Here's the thing. In the Great Depression, did you know that the government handed out soup to people? Now, does that mean that the government cares about you? Does that mean that the government's going to help you because they handed out soup? No, the government caused the Great Depression, and then they offer you a measly bowl of soup. Does that mean that the government is who you trust because they're the ones handing out soup? No, he might have given you a little bit of freedom on Twitter. He's going to take everything from you. You put that chip in your brain and you watch. And I'll tell you right now, he is evil embodied. Nobody wants to put a chip in somebody else's brain unless if they are evil and sadistic. And I'll say it right to his face. I'm not scared of him, and I die right now. I don't care. There's nothing he can do to scare me. And I'm not scared to tell people what I believe because I'm telling you, if you get that chip in your brain from Elon Musk, you've been fooled.
Just the chip is the one that makes you uncomfortable.
When you type in Neuralink and Greek beta gematria, you get the numerical value of 666.
Can you type that in, Rob?
Now, Gematria, apparently, I don't know a bunch of stuff. I'm not that well versed in my history, but Gematria is when they give words or letters a numerical value. When you type in Neuralink in Greek Beta Gematria, 666.
He'd be a governmental genius.
And I was told that these are to be presented with the blood evidence when the mark of the beast law is passed or enforced. Now, I know everybody wonders about what it is, the mark of the beast. You've heard all kinds of rumors, stories, and all this. I'll tell you quick and simple. If you keep the 10 Commandments that God wrote upon those tables of stone, and about which he says in Psalms 89:34, those of you that are writing down text, you'll want this one. Psalms 89:34. He says, "My covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that has gone out of my lips." He spoke the 10 Commandments from the mountaintop. He wrote them in stone, and he says, nothing will change. Right? If you keep that law, you will receive the seal of God. Soon there will be a set of man-made laws, best intentions, surrounded by a barrage of salubrious soliloquies and sepulchral solicitudes. That's all kinds of stories and all of this, instigated by the devil to make you think that this is the best thing that ever happened to the human race and that you could just sort of go along with it voluntarily. These man-made laws will require that you break God's 10 Commandments. Christ said to the Pharisees, "For it is in vain that they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men." If you keep those man-made laws and break God's 10 Commandments, you will receive the mark of the beast. Now, what I would like every man, woman, and child in this audience to remember, if you forget everything else, Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, in full cooperation with his Father, loved us to the point that they were willing to do that on our behalf. It's done, folks. We have been bought with the price.
He'll be a religious genius.
In religious persecution today, I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias. About time, right? Anti-Christian bias. Yeah, you never heard of that one before, right? But it's about time, isn't it, though, really? So many times you hear, but you don't hear the anti-Christian bias. The mission of this task force will be to immediately halt all forms of anti-Christian targeting and discrimination within the federal government, including at the DOJ, which was absolutely terrible, the IRS, the FBI, terrible, and other agencies. In addition, the task force will work to fully prosecute anti-Christian violence and vandalism in our society and to move heaven and earth to defend the rights of Christians and religious believers nationwide. You've never had that before, but this is a very powerful document I'm signing. You got it now. First time you've had it. If we don't have religious liberty, then we don't have
a free country. We probably don't even have a country. I will always protect religious liberty. And that is why today I'm on and really honoring a lot of people, but I'm announcing that I will be creating a brand new presidential commission on religious liberty. It's going to be a very big deal, which will work tirelessly to uphold this most fundamental right. This week, I'm also creating the White House Faith Office, led by Pastor Paula White, who is so amazing.
Scripture supports every one of these. And there's a bunch of other passages in your notes you can take a look at if you're trying to get up to speed on who this guy is.
Who has heard the poem called The Snake? So I have it. Does anybody want to hear it again? You sure? Are you sure? Okay. So let's dedicate this to General Kelly, the Border Patrol, and the ICE agents for doing such an incredible job. Right? This was written by Al Wilson a long time ago. And I thought of it having to do with our borders and people coming in. And we know what we're going to have. We're going to have problems. We have to very, very carefully vet. We have to be smart. We have to be vigilant. So here it is, the snake. It's called The Snake. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. "Poor thing," she cried, "I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you." The border. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed that vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. "You're so beautiful," she cried. "But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died." She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. "I have saved you," cried the woman, "and you've bitten me, heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die." "Oh, shut up, silly woman," said the reptile with a grin. "You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in."
Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble?
Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again.
You ever ask God for forgiveness?
That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person. Shockingly, because people are so shocked when they find this out. I'm Protestant. I'm Presbyterian. And I go to church and I love God and I love my church. And Norman Vincent Peale, the great Norman Vincent Peale was my pastor. The power of positive thinking. Everybody's heard of Norman Vincent Peale. He was so great. He would give a sermon. You never wanted to leave. Sometimes we have sermons. Every once in a while we think about leaving a little early, right? Even though we're Christians. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Frank, would give a sermon. I'm telling you, I still remember his sermons. It was unbelievable. And what he would do is he'd bring real-life situations, modern-day situations into the sermon. And you could listen to him all day long. When you left the church, you were disappointed that it was over. He was the greatest guy. And then, you know, he passed away, but he was a great. He wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, which is a great book.
But have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go on and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped. So that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the workings of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.